Hello and welcome to Positively Board Gaming Podcast. I'm not going to say the episode number, Mitchell. I know we talked about that a lot last week, so I'm just going to go for it. We're just going to have a chat here. If you're listening, let us know if you care about the episode number. We can continue to bring it up or not. But what's most important is I'm excited to spend the next 30 minutes with my friend Mitchell. And this is a double week for us. We don't always record. We usually record one of these per week. This is a week where we're recording two. And I'm just excited to see you again and chat about the things that we are excited about or that we love, mostly board game related. How are you doing, Mitchell?
I'm doing great. And as you said, I'm always excited to spend some time with you, Jamie. This is like special time for us too. Yes, we do it to be, listened to by all of you out there listening, and welcome if it's your first time, or welcome even more if you've decided to join us again. But yeah, it's like a fun time for a couple of friends to chat about something they really love. And hopefully, it's like that old saying, and I think we talked about this once, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. So I feel like, we love doing this podcast. So it doesn't feel like anything more than, a joyous, 45 minutes we get to spend together every week. So and by the way, if you are into the numbering of the episodes, because some people do like that, they have that linear thought about progression and how things work. Everyone processes differently. When you're looking at this, mostly in podcast form, it automatically numbers every episode that we air. So in case we misname something, which is I'm more likely to do, or if we put something out of order because we take a week off and fill it with a different episode, you can always see the order and satisfy that number in your mind by looking at us on your favorite platform of choice. So welcome, Jamie.
Welcome. Do you have a treat of the day that you're excited about today?
I do. And it has nothing to do with the Mexican food I'm having again with my wife tonight, even though we're having something different. I'm having this burrito stuffed with, I think it's this, I have to find what fresh fish they use, and shrimp, and this orange sauce, and this great salad. Yeah, it's really amazing. I'll get the name of it another time. And by the way, we've had some great, and by the way, my actual topic deals with someone that wrote into the website actually with a question. We love the interaction. And someone was actually asking about the recipe that I mentioned. My wife made a chicken parm casserole where everything cooks in the casserole. And a listener reached out to me through social media. I was able to link the TikTok recipe. So I hope you got that recipe and you enjoy it and your family enjoys it. But this is what makes what we do so much fun.
Yeah.
And so special. It's yes, we love talking about board games, but it's that interaction with people, that shared sort of enthusiasm for games, for life, for different things that we enjoy. And someone really liked the sound of that recipe. I was able to share it with someone, and it was really cool. So I like that. I like those human moments that we have. But yeah, I just wanted to digress. So awesome. My treat of the day, I actually posted this on social media. I don't know if you saw it, Jamie. So I talked about I love when my worlds collide. And in this case, it was the world of video games and Lego. And my son got me the Nintendo Game Boy Lego set. And when I say it looks exactly.
Oh, wow.
And if you look, even as I tilt, I don't know if you could tell, but like Mario's jumping up and down. I think it's called lenticular. I mean, it has the insert there that actually he jumps up and it is so beautifully engineered. The folks whoever designed this kit, and you actually can take the cartridge in and out.
Oh, no.
It has the Mario cartridge.
Blow on it to clear the dust out?
Yeah, to make it work, because we all know how the blowing the cartridge always helped, right? But even putting the rubber gaskets inside the D-pad and behind the buttons, and these are rubber gaskets. And then, of course, they give you two cartridges. So the other one you display, and it also has the overlays in the back. So you can really customize this. This blew me away. And I'd say, people always see this. They're like, okay, how do you turn it on? How does it work? Because they see it. Because a lot of Lego stuff is very functional, and they think it's actually a working Game Boy. So my treat of the day was getting to build this. My son was building his Lord of the Rings set, his huge 5,000-piece set. I got to build this with him at the table, and we got to talk, and we were doing our own little builds. And it brought me a lot of joy. So this is my treat that I wanted to share. And I thought you would appreciate it, because I know you have a soft spot for Nintendo stuff and old school stuff. So how cool is that they make these great sets that bring back the nostalgia of the games we used to play, and just how well they do it. It's so well done. It's crazy.
That is truly incredible, the level of detail that they put into that.
Isn't that neat? So that was sort of, it was a treat to build it. And it was also a treat to be able to share it, and also to share it with my son who got it for me and build it at the same time. It was really cool. So my treat was not edible, Jamie. It was not edible today, which is a rarity for me, because I love my treats. But how about you? Do you have a treat of the day?
My treat of the day is it's related to edible, consumable things.
All right.
There is a small chain of cupcake places in St. Louis called The Cup. I think they're also known as the Cupcakery. I call it The Cup. I think they're known as The Cup. Really, really good buttercream ice cream in particular.
Ah,
I love going to this place. And for the first time the other day, I was on their website and I happened to notice their mission statement. So this isn't so much about their treat, which they actually have really fun holiday treats. Like they have a cupcake that kind of looks like a mummy right now.
oh
It's
my gosh.
adorable. It's delicious and it's adorable to eat. But I looked at their mission statement and I really liked it. It made me think of this podcast. I wanted to share it with you. Their mission statement is short and simple, and it isn't about, notably, it isn't about it isn't like our mission is to make delicious cupcakes, which would be a perfectly fine mission. Their mission says our mission is to help people celebrate life's meaningful moments. And
That's cool.
I love that idea because like that, I think of cupcakes as something that you get when you're celebrating something. And how cool is it that their mission is to use cupcakes not as the end goal, but as a way to facilitate and bring joy and celebrate life's meaningful moments. Isn't that cool?
The cupcake is their joy delivery system. That basically is what it is.
Yeah.
And I love that too, because at the end of the day, I mean, I like to think there's so many different forms of craftsmanship, so many different professions, so many things we do out there. And at the end of the day, we do what we do. It's a job. It's some of it is production based, some of it is not, some of it is care based. But at the end of the day, we want to bring joy to people in some way in whatever we're doing. But to have that direct connection and have that be the mission, absolutely. Because you think of cupcakes, it brings you back to childhood.
Yeah.
It brings you back to childhood. It's a very base emotion of like cupcakes. Yay. I think yay and cupcakes kind of go together. So yeah, I love that, Jamey. That is awesome because again, it really is a joy delivery system. And the fact that they look at it as such is really kind of cool. I love that. And I love that you talked about it and gave them some love on the show. That's fantastic. Don't feel bad about it. If you want to send us free donuts for free cupcakes, you don't have to do that. We're talking about it because we love it. No, but I think now I'm jealous that I can't experience these joyful cupcakes in Los Angeles. Again, yet another reason to come to St. Louis.
Yeah, if you ever come to St. Louis, we'll just do a little food tour, or maybe I'll have to do one in advance and pull all the food together so we don't have to spend all the time driving around all these different places. Yeah.
That'll be part of our mystery food tour. It's like, what'd you do with Jamey? I ate my way through St. Louis. I gained 10 pounds. I had the best time of my life. I can't go back again for 2 years. Yeah. Okay. So going back to our show, we have, we like to talk about treats of the day. Sometimes we have a before we start. Do you have a before we start?
I do have a brief one. Yeah.
Sure. Let's go for it. Yeah.
As we're recording we're in the middle of one of the biggest game conventions of the year, game festivals called Essen. It's in Essen, Germany. It's called, I think, just Spiel.
Spiel, yeah.
And I just wanted to mostly just say thank you to my coworkers who are going there. It's another treat of the day, essentially, that my coworkers, Alex, Susanna, and Dave, all who live in the U.S., 2 of them live in St. Louis. They have gone halfway around the world to welcome people into the Stonemaier universe of games. And so huge thanks to them and thanks to everyone who has stopped by the booth. I know as people are listening to this, it's in the future. They're no longer there. But if you did stop by, thank you for stopping by. I really appreciate it. And hopefully you had a fun time stopping by our booth at Essen Spiel. Is this a place that you would, we talked a little bit about game conventions. You go to PAX.
Yes.
Have you heard of this one? Is this one that would ever interest you in going?
Absolutely. Yeah. This is the king daddy of all of them. Just happens to be in Europe, which makes it a little bit more challenging, geographically to get there. I haven't even been to Gen Con yet, and that's in Indianapolis, correct? Right, so that's much more accessible for me. And yet, Essen, I would love to go to Essen. And I'm going to put something out there for our listeners and our viewers. If you're watching us on Stonemaier Games on the YouTube channel, yay, hello. If you get a chance, and I'm not saying this as like, you need to do this. I think it's going to be interesting, informative. There are a lot of channels out there, a lot of YouTube channels, a lot of creators, content creators, publishers that have made videos about not just going to Essen, but the experience of setting up their booth, what it's like going there as an exhibitor and going there. If you can, check out a couple of those because I think it gives you a greater appreciation for what goes into. And Jamey's talking about his team that is there right now. You have even just setting up a booth to go to do a convention anywhere, setting up a booth on its own, setting it up, breaking it down when everything is over, worrying about product, shipping, getting product there, taking product back that hasn't. So there's so much logistically that goes in to being a part of, forget about, Spiel in Essen. I mean, that's any convention, but it's even more challenging when you're going halfway around the world to make something like this happen. So, sort of as an homage to all, not just the Stonemaier folks, but all the people that go there to put these games, these companies on display that give us joy, that we're able to buy games from. Go check out some of those behind the scene videos, because you'll get a real sense of what goes into it. Not only that, but it's fun. It's exciting you feel like you're behind the scenes watching something you shouldn't be watching. And as the games all get stacked up, that, some of them get sold out in the first hour and people are going to be clamoring, oh, that's the it game this year, I have to get it. There's something really cool about it. And if you love games, you won't get, I don't think you'll feel a sense of loss or missing out on it. It's just a sense of connected joy of, wow, that is so cool to be a part of something that big. So if you can check out, have you watched any of those like setup videos, Jamey, where they're like, behind the scenes at Essen, we're setting our booth up now. I just think that's so cool. Maybe it's just me. I don't know.
No, I enjoy those. And I've seen a few that where they kind of fast track it. So you're watching it really, really fast.
Oh, yeah. Time lapse. Yeah.
Time lapse. Yeah. I like this.
I love that too. That is awesome.
Anything else on your mind before we jump into our main topics?
Real quick, I have some Kickstarters arriving very soon. In fact, today, my copy of Tend from IV Studios. Did you end up getting Tend or no?
No, but I heard great things about it. I'm curious to see what you think after you play it.
It's like those farming sim video games, but it's actually a farming sim that you're actually putting pen and paper as a roll and write or a flip and write, but dice are involved as placeholders, and it has like a scratch off card that you get multiple cards in there, because once you scratch them off, they're used already. So it uses so many different mechanisms, and it looks amazing on the table. I think it could be a little overwhelming if you look at it and you see all those tiny squares and all the colors and all the different symbols. But from what I've heard, it's pretty accessible, and there's so many different things to do within this game. It looks really neat. So I'm excited about that. Dice Throne Outcasts, I think, is going to be arriving very soon. Yet more Dice Throne content. I keep on saying, I don't need any more. It's not true. I always need more, and I always get more. Just because, that character does a simple, really cool move with, a straight or a small straight. I have to have that. It's me. It's my, the collector in me, but I also love Dice Throne. And then Malia, Land of Legends, which is an RPG, but sort of a different take on it. And that one, I know there were some challenges. And again, there have been so many challenges delivering games because of tariffs and timing and storing these games for a while. And then when the tariffs come down, so it's been really challenging. So I appreciate the fact that companies have been willing to work to make these things happen. So thank you to all the publishers out there that make this happen. And thank you to all the gamers out there and the people that put money up to these and pledge these games for their understanding and patience, because again, it's sort of a new world that we're dealing with and trying to navigate. Hopefully it continues to get easier, but there has to be, understanding on both sides. So I thank both sides for making it possible that these games are actually being delivered now. So I have Tend, Malia, and Dice Throne Outcast. Do you have anything coming up? I know you always have pledges out there. Do you have anything arriving soon?
I never know when something's actually.
I know you kind of set it and forget it, like the old Ron Popeil ads. Set it and forget it. You'll have chicken in an hour, but you don't. It's sort of out of sight, out of mind kind of thing, right? When they arrive, it's like, yay!
Right. Yeah. I think maybe the closest one that I have to arriving is Holiday Hills, which is from a designer friend, Chris Porter. But I think. And we don't have to go deep into the tariffs, but like a few weeks ago, the president tweeted essentially that he was going to increase the tariffs by 100%. And even just that tweet, which didn't end up happening, caused some people like Chris to have to hit pause on shipping, because it would put them out of business if they proceeded with that, this thing that he spent years working on. And so that is one that I don't know when it arrived. I have plenty of patience for Chris whenever he's ready to ship it. And I understand him being hesitant after seeing a tweet like that.
And that's the hard thing about, whether it's used as a negotiation tool, the threat of something. And again, we're not going to get into politics here, but I'm just saying that even as negotiations happen and putting something out there, like, here's what we're going to do. It's part of a negotiation process. I understand that, but there are real implications to and reactions to that have repercussions when these things are put out there, whether they end up happening or not. As Jamey said, ended up not happening, but just the threat of it ends up somebody, okay, we're gonna hold off on this until you're like, oh, and then it doesn't happen. You're like, yeah, but there are things happen. There is sort of a domino effect to when things like that are announced, and right or wrong, it just they're real people that have to deal with the consequences of that. So I hope these things come out as soon as possible, where people are still making money and not being hurt by this stuff. But like I said, hopefully it'll continue to get better and better. Anyway, enough of my tariff talk and games. And so As we know, if you've listened to us before, or if not, here's how it goes. Jamey and I come on, we talk about the things we love, little things, food and treats of the day. And before we start, I have to say it like that, Jamey. And then we each have a topic that the other person doesn't know about, and we bring it up. And Jamey is about to bring up a topic that I know nothing of.
You want me to go first? I feel like I go first a lot.
You want to put me?
Yeah,
you know what?
Where do you go? Yeah,
Here I was throwing you under the bus, and how shameful of me. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have done that. And Jamey's, you know what? You fought back. You're like, no, I'm not going to. You can't make me. You go for. You haven't gone first in a long. You're right, and he's right. I can't argue with him. So this is an email that we got from Jonah. Jonah, thank you so much for sending this email in. And I thought it was really cool, and it was sort of a multi-tiered, multifaceted sort of question answer thing. So I'm going to read this. I'm putting on my handsome elderly man glasses as I make a disgusting little turn to camera and upset many people all over the world. I'm so sorry. Here's the email. I listen to a lot of board game content, and I've noticed some people talk about their own house rules. I'm curious how often you feel the need to house rule something, or what house rules make gaming a better, more positive experience. This is a great, very interesting, and not a quick answer kind of question. And the reason is, and Jonah, again, thank you. It's a great question. The first thing we have to do is obviously the definition of house ruling a game. And I think it comes in two parts. In its most basic form, it's changing the game in any way than it was originally intended to be, either in the rule book or with the existing components. Do you think that's a good basic rule? Changing the experience of the game in any way as stated by the original rules and the original components.
Yeah.
And I think so. I was trying to think of like something that we could agree on in terms of the base, house ruling something. Yeah. And yet there are two different kinds of house rules. They're the house rules that you feel you need to use in order to make the game work, which doesn't happen that often because designers know what they're doing, and games usually work regardless of whether we relate to those rules or not. So there's that kind of house rule of, we can't play the game. This doesn't work. We better change something to make it work. Or the more common, and I think when most people more than likely house rule something, is when something isn't working for them. When something doesn't jive with their style or the kind of game they're playing, and they feel the need to take a card out of the game, because there are certain things. So do you agree that there are like two different types? And the first type hardly ever happens. The second type I see happen a lot more. Is that fair to say, Jamey?
I think that's a good way to differentiate the two. The type of house rule that could make the game better for everyone versus the house rule that is particularly to you or your family or your partner or your friend, whoever you play games with.
Correct. Yeah. And I'm trying to think of a time where I thought of something that needed, well, this game's, people use the term broken, which, again, I don't really use that term, but or I personally can't play this because of this. So we better find, earthquake. No, it's just me hitting the camera. So I'll give you an example of a couple of things that I've done in the past. Or for example, I love Zombicide. I love Zombicide. And I think it was Black Plague was my first entry into it, and wonderful game. But I remember there is, God, now it's what is the name of like the big hulking, the real big bad, because there are different levels of bad guys in the games that you fight against. Abomination. Okay. So the way that the game works is you mix the cards together, and as you're going through the dungeon, you're flipping over cards to see what you're going to encounter, to see what big bads you're going to encounter throughout the game. And if for some reason you are unlucky, and I use the term unlucky because, again, it is a luck-based thing, and you happen to pull an abomination card as the first creature that enters your dungeon there, or enters the board, it can really be challenging to overcome an abomination as the first creature you encounter in the game. Because now, again, you have to get multiple things in order to fight them off. You have to sort of mix fire with something else in order to be able to do any damage to them. And basically, you can spend an early part of the game just avoiding the abominations instead of like trying to achieve other things in the game. And I've actually seen that happen. So I've seen in certain cases, number one, certain people either take the number of abominations out of the game, or to me, the better approach for me was, okay, I split the decks into two halves, and I make sure the abominations are only in the bottom half of the deck, shuffle those in. So you're not going to get one of those big bads until you had enough time to sort of get other things going in the game. That was sort of one thing that I experienced. Have you had something like that where you changed the position of a card because you knew if it came out too early, it could change the experience? Has that happened with you?
That probably has. The one that's related that comes to mind is more about like removing a few cards that don't that don't vibe with maybe my group, because I think
Yes.
there are people that appreciate these types of cards. And the one that comes to mind in particular is in Lords of Waterdeep.
Okay.
There are mandatory quests, and I understand the design intent behind them. The idea in Lord of Waterdeep is that you can only accomplish one quest on your turn at most.
Right.
And so if you have a mandatory quest, it's essentially saying you must complete this quest before you can complete
First.
these other quests that you
Yeah.
actually want to complete. And so and you give it to one specific player. And so it is a way to rubber band the game a little bit to help players catch up with someone who is far in the lead. But it isn't limited to the player who's in the lead. I guess a house rule for that would be maybe you have to give it to the player who's in the lead.
That's interesting. Okay.
But I always feel bad giving those cards to other players. And generally, I think most of the people that I play with feel bad giving those mandatory quests to another player. It gets in the way of the fun of the game because all players are pursuing the quest they're excited about. So sometimes when I play Lords of Waterdeep, depending on the group, I remove the mandatory quest cards.
I think that I totally get that. I'd probably do the same thing. And that was the other thing I was going to say on the other side, taking it away for Zombicide from it. By the way, it didn't hinder my love of Zombicide at all. It was a quick fix for our group because we just, like I said, we just bottom load the deck with the Abomination, and then no one is punished too early for that.
Yeah.
And I think punishing is a great word to use because things that are too punishing. For example, I forget what game I was just playing. I don't know whether it was Lord of the Rings, Duel for Middle Earth. I don't know what it was. It was a game I played recently where we decided to take a card out because it was very take that-y, and it was the only take that thing. And by that, if you're not familiar with game terminology, it's something that hinders you. It's something that a card or something you do in the game to hinder your opponent rather than forward yourself.
Yeah.
It's rather, it's a sort of way, I'm going to stop him rather than me just going to do something. I'm going to take that from him or punish him in some way. It's to slow him down because Jamey's doing too well. Jamey's got to sit out for this turn. So that's what a take that thing, as opposed to everyone is just sort of doing their own thing and not worrying about putting negative cards. It's a negative card on another player, basically. And there was a card like that in a game that I was playing, again, a game that I loved. And it might have been Duel from the North. I don't know. And it didn't match the rest of the game because it was the only, whatever this thing was in that game, it was the only take that element of the game. And we were like, one of the things I like about this is it doesn't have a take that element. Some games would take that. I don't mind. It isn't that I'm adverse to that. It didn't match the feeling that we were getting from the rest of the game. So we just took it out. And the game was great. We had a great time. Didn't affect our experience at all. And I think that's, to me, that particular, like you said, that example that you just gave with Lords of Waterdeep, if it's not taking away from the core experience of the game for the player. And really, it's something that you can isolate without having, if there's a rule that constantly comes up in a game that there's no way around, it's different. If there's something that, okay, like you said, it doesn't vibe with our group, then why not? And again, I'm sitting here talking to one of the most famous board game designers in the world, and I'm very aware of the fact that, do you have a different view of house rules as a designer, as a creator? Like, how dare they? I know you're not an egomaniac where it's like, hey, how dare they touch my game? You just sent out an errata pack, which was wonderful for Vantage, which I got and I appreciate. And it's like, oh, I love that you put the thought into and caring about, here, this will replace that card. But I wonder if some designers get really proprietary. I mean, humans are humans and feel like, don't you dare change anything in my game. But have you ever had moments where you've heard a house rule and go, that's great that you did that, and secretly you're like, man, they shouldn't have touched that. I designed it like that for a reason. What are you talking about? But yay, go ahead, you live your life, Have you had those moments where you're like, I wonder why they changed that?
Well, yes, I have.
Okay.
Many times. And really, three things run through my head. One, when someone suggests that a house rule to me, because oftentimes it's in the format of, Jamey, what do you think about this house rule? And my universal opinion of house rules is really these three things. One, do what makes the game the most fun for you. That's the most important thing.
Right.
Do it. Two, the rules are there for a reason. Everything that's in there in the game is there for a reason. It doesn't mean it is the best version of the game. It's the best version of the game that we tried to make it, but it is all there for a reason, for various design reasons. I'm happy to talk about those reasons if you want, but if you're looking for me to say your house rule is better than the thing that you put in the game, that's probably not gonna, like, I'm not the person to go to for that, right, as the designer, the publisher, or the developer.
Right.
And so that's why I encourage people to talk about it online. And the third thing is, and I've broken this myself, but if you are going to propose or talk about a house rule, I highly recommend or highly appreciate when people try it first.
Of course.
And that way, that, and like most of the time when people try it, they know right away, oh, this is better, or this isn't as good because now I've tried it. It's not hypothetical anymore. And that's the whole point of like playtesting game design. So that's the thing. And I know it's fun to talk about hypothetical things or to find out that if someone else has tried that house rule. But I think it's super helpful when someone has tried it first.
Yeah. Absolutely. And again, some of these, some of them, and Jonah, again, thank you for a fantastic question. And that's what I meant, Jonah, by it wasn't like an easy one answer, like, yes, here's what we do, because again, there are different types of house rules. People have different reactions to it. It's a very personal sort of thing. And again, it's very, like you said, Jamey, it's also group dependent, and you want to have your group have the best experience. But, for almost universally, these games are designed the way they're designed for a reason, whether it hits with you perfectly every time on every note. Because a game is loaded with many notes throughout, and there is a certain musicality to it, so that's why I really think note is a good term for it. There are multiple notes that are hit during a game, and not every one of those notes is going to hit with you. But as an ensemble, as a group, they're there for a reason. If there's one that, again, makes it better for your group.
Totally. Yeah.
What the heck? But it doesn't happen that often. But yes, Jonah, Jamey and I have both done it at different times. And as Jamey said, before you talk about it and share it with the world, give it a try and see what you think of it. Because you'll be like, oh, maybe I was wrong. Maybe that thing didn't make it better. I think I just made things a lot tougher. I just added an hour to the game and no one was happy. It's like, yay. But it's a good thing to try out first. Absolutely. So.
And every now and then, like a good thing that can come out of this is not just that you are having more fun with the game, but if you do try it, and you talk about it and you share about that online, especially if I think, there are more constructive ways to share it than others. You could say, oh, this aspect of the game is terrible. This doesn't work. And I found this way that doesn't work. Or you can say, oh, I can see why the designer tried it this way. This other way works good for my group. That's a little easier to hear, I can say, as a designer. But every now and then it results in an actual official change to a game that makes the game better. And that has happened for Stonemaier games, including, you mentioned Vantage. It's such a vast game that some of those little things that people have found really have been great to hear and great to make that little changes to the game. One bigger one that comes to mind is in Red Rising, where there is the possibility in Red Rising, there are a few cards that banish other cards in your hand. So Red Rising, you start out with 5 cards in hand, and you craft that hand over the course of the game, and you score your entire hand of cards at the end of the game. And so there are a few cards, some meaner cards in the game, because it is a fairly interactive game that can banish cards that people have. And they work thematically. I like the design of them, but it can be a big setback in Red Rising if early in the game, Mitchell plays a card that banishes one of my 5 cards. And I'm suddenly down to 4 cards. Like, that is a 20% decrease. It has a big effect on the game. And so someone's suggestion that I thought was brilliant, and we've actually added to future rule books, future printings of Red Rising, is that if you that you cannot, you can play a card that would banish a card, but it has no effect unless the player you're targeting has more than the number of cards they started out with. So I would have to ask
a great workaround.
Then you bring me down to 5. That way, it's still an impactful card. Usually, these cards even already have downsides for the player playing them.
Right.
But that way, you're not setting me back. So you're not setting me back before lower than what I started out the game with, and it made a real difference in the game.
That is really smart. And that is really smart. And Jamey, you just inspired me. I was thinking in my head, like, again, sometimes the way you, this is like in life too, even when you're arguing with someone, if someone's upset about something, it's like you have every right to be upset, but the way you communicate being upset makes all the difference. It's like, I don't like that you really, I don't like the way you did it. Oh, but I had every right to be upset. No, you're right. And I'll deal with that. And I was wrong, but I just don't like the way it was presented. And I think, especially when you realize that designers and publishers, they read this stuff, and you're talking about something that was a lot of work was put into, but phrasing it such as, I found a great way to play, a different way to play so-and-so. What do you think of this? And again, now you're not even saying anything negative about the design, the publisher, the designer itself. It's just like, hey, I found a different way of playing this game. What do you guys think? And that the way there's no, and again, it's not because we're positively board game. Maybe it is. Maybe because we look at things, maybe because we're a little bit more thoughtful in the way we present things and talk about this. Maybe it is. I don't know. But there is a way to present it that definitely gives it, it just takes the sting off a little bit, because remember, there are people that work so hard to create, that spend chunks of their life creating these games. So the way it's presented does matter too. So I'm glad you said that, Jamey.
Well, and sometimes I think the way that I think about it is if you are saying something that you want other people to hear, or I'll make it about myself. If I am saying something that I want other people to hear, there are many ways that I can say that thing, but if it's important enough for me to say, I can choose a way to say it that I think other people might actually be able to receive and hear and
Yes.
listen to. Or there are ways that I can say it that might feel really good for me to say in that moment, in that heated moment, but it's going to make a much smaller impact based on that way that I said it.
Yep.
And that is something that I need to keep in mind and be more mindful of more often.
Yeah.
And I would really love for other people to do the same sometimes,
Oh,
especially
yeah.
as someone who reads a lot of comments on the internet. That there's some power. People say some powerful things that can have a positive impact. We're about positivity here. But if you say it in a damaging way, there's just a much lower chance that you will have a positive impact or constructive impact on the people who that you most want to read that or hear it.
Oh, absolutely, because now people are reacting to the way you said it. Now that you started,
Exactly.
you started a flame war because of how you said it, and now the message is no longer being received. There's so people are more
Yeah.
focused on how you did it. Well, you're right. You're absolutely right. And like you said, you want people to be able to focus on what you're saying, not how you said it. So the way you do present stuff, the more you watch, the more you learn on Positively Board Game. But it's true. It's definitely true. Okay. Enough about my topic. Jamey, you brought a
Well,
topic to the table that I want to talk about.
I
I don't know
do
what
get
that
one,
topic
Mitchell, but I
is.
feel like we've kind of at a certain point when you were talking, I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
let's just lean into this and let's just go
That's
for
cool
a good
too.
topic. Like I think we covered a lot of fun stuff today. I do have something, but it's not urgent, so I'll hold it for a
Okay.
future week.
I like that. I like that.
But I've had a delightful time talking to you about house rules and that aspect of the game. Thank you. Was it Jonah who asked the
It was
question?
Jonah. It was Jonah.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's awesome. So Jonah, thank you for spurring an entire conversation between Mitchell and I about this topic and about not just about house rules, but also about how we express house rules and how we talk about them. I think that's really cool.
Exactly. I'm looking at the time like, oh my gosh, Jamey, you're right. That one topic became like both of our topics.
Yeah.
That was crazy. Again, another first on Positively Board Gaming. So please, and again, you can go to positivelyboardgaming.com and leave a comment there, which is where Jonah's comment came from. You can go to the Stonemeyer Games YouTube channel and leave a comment there, which we always love. And again, Jamey, I think you would encourage this too. If people have their own house rules they want to talk about for a specific game or a game that they play that they found a really cool way of playing. See what I did there? I incorporated
Yeah.
what we talked about. If you found a really cool way of playing a game that you think that people would love to hear about, just something different that you tried, let us know. I think that would be awesome.
I agree. Totally agree. Well, thank you for listening. Mitchell, thanks for being here to chat today.
Thank you.
And yeah, have a great weekend.
You too. We'll see you next week.
Sounds good.
I'm glad you were watching the clock because I didn't realize that. But again, it was like it was both of us talking about it, which was great.
Yeah.
It made
Totally.
it perfectly interactive. But I thought that was just a great question and not the easiest answer because again, it's sort of an interesting topic. And I'm overly sensitive to stuff.